Hey everyone, welcome to the 2024 New Hampshire primary, Bedford, New Hampshire. Hi everyone, I'm Bill Jennings and I'm sitting beside a very good friend of mine, Ted Gorski, who is a leadership coach, and he and I have done a number of programs on leadership.
Yes,
And your show is called, Ted?
the Leadership Edge.
And I did mention that, didn't I?
You did. Good job.
So Ted and I are here to bring you inside the polls in Bedford. We don't normally, BCTV, cover the primaries because there really isn't that much excitement. But this year, there is an awful lot of excitement.
A lot of
because-
buzz.
A lot of buzz. And if you take a look at it, there's some unique things that are happening. Number one, the incumbent, the president, is not even on the ballot.
Yep.
And then you have two Republicans going head-to-head. There was three, and now there
That's
is two. With two Republicans remaining, it should be interesting. But before we get into this, I just want to give everyone out there an idea of how this one-hour show is going to go. We're going to have a couple of guests at approximately 6:10 p.m., give or take a minute or so. We're going to have town moderator Brian Shaughnessy in as a guest to give us an idea as to what he's seen during the course of the day. And I can tell you, when I got down here about 3 o'clock, the lines were way out around the corner.
Actually, you called me and said, Ted, you got to get here early to vote for the show because things are picking up here in the lines as well as outside in the cars. So it was good that you gave me a call. But things are moving very quickly.
Absolutely.
Didn't have to wait long.
And that's the first time you've ever listened to me, and I appreciate
First
you.
time, believe it or not, yes. And maybe the last.
And maybe the last. But it is unprecedented. I have never seen as many people voting in a primary, and it comes down to what makes the New Hampshire primary first in the nation unique. It's not an Iowa caucus. And people get confused on what a caucus is and what a primary is. The first in the nation primary really allows anybody to come in New Hampshire specifically. And you don't have to be a registered Republican. You don't have to be a registered Democrat. You can be undeclared. And what has happened is that this is a phenomenon where you see now more undeclared members than you do for their respective parties. A caucus in Iowa, you're either Republican or Democrat.
Yep.
And you've given somebody some authority to represent you. And you go to this caucus, and they'll vote on maybe a half a dozen candidates, as we just saw with the Republicans, and they'll narrow it down, and they'll come down to the final top three. If I'm saying that correctly, but if anybody wants to correct me, they can.
So you're saying someone represents you in your
Correct.
vote versus you voting yourself.
Exactly. So in New Hampshire, one nice thing that we have is that luxury, and if you look behind us, there are a lot of people that are coming in here and picking either Republican or a Democratic ticket. Now, I've got some numbers that you might find interesting. We have 15,613 registered voters in the town of Bedford. Republican, that's 5,731. Democrats, 3,903. And listen to this, 5,973.
Whoa.
And
Independents.
Independents, undeclared, absolutely. And as of 5 p.m., of the 5,731 registered Republicans, and those that might have come in undeclared, grab a Republican ticket, the vote right now, you've had 5,047, this is as of 5 p.m., people who have voted the Republican ticket. As you would expect with the Democratic side, without the incumbent, the president, their approach in this campaign is very sensitive about it. They don't think of us as the first in the nation primary.
Yeah, and that's very disappointing because one of the things, living in New Hampshire for over 40 years, any time in a presidential primary, they take it seriously. I mean, I've been in events where people are coming prepared with questions and want to hear the answers directly from the candidates. So this is a big deal. And, New Hampshire takes it very seriously. That's why it's very disappointing when, they were mentioning that, this primary is meaningless and it doesn't matter. It sure does. Look at the people lining up here to vote, and it's a little after 6 o'clock. This has been a steady flow, and we're going to find out from the moderator shortly some more details, but this shows how people take this process seriously.
Barbara Shagnon, who is on the supervisor of the checklist, she's over there registering new people, etc. She gave me some interesting statistics from 1996 right up to the 2022. In the primaries, in elections, out of all the states, New Hampshire is registered is number 3 in participation.
No way, really?
Yeah, absolutely. And what really is disturbing that, and I know Senator Hatson was on Meet the Press on Sunday, and she was asked a question about the president, the incumbent, not being on the ballot, and she was in a difficult spot. She said, "I regret that they tried to take the first in the nation primary away from us. It belongs to us, but we are hoping that a lot of the Democrats will go out there and write in. They have to be just as disturbed and as upset. But you can see that 1,334 registered Democrats have come in to at least cast their vote. So the tip of the cap of the people that are coming in. Let's talk about the Republican side right now. Looking at the Republican side right now and looking at what's going on around the state, the situation right now is Trump is tracking about 18% ahead of when you go toe-to-toe with Haley.
Mm-hmm.
When you take a look at what the Haley side is looking at, but if we go against Biden, we're tied in the latest polls. I think it's 37-37. But you still got to get through
the primary,
the elephant in the room, if you want to call it that, and that's a gentleman that is very popular right now. And I think they're hoping for a good show. If she does not get that show, I don't. What do you think the percentage might be for a respectable show, Ted?
Well, from all indications from people I've talked to, it almost looks like she may lose somewhere between 20 to 30, by 20 to 30 points.
You really think so?
That's what the prognosticators I've talked to have been speaking about.
Yeah.
I think if it's in that range, it's going to be a tough road to move forward.
I'm hearing differently, that there is a last-minute rush towards her side, so I think it might be closer, but I still think based on the general, and we have not done any polls here, folks. This is just speculation and outside, stuff that's being put up on the website, and also we've seen on TV that there is some momentum there. I don't think it's enough to put her over the hump, which leads to my next question. This is so important to her because she's poured her heart and soul and spent a lot of time here.
And spent a lot of money and a lot of postcards.
Yeah, and one of the things that we don't have to worry about, and it's just not her, it's everybody, it's when primary's over, we don't get all this stuff in our mail, but we have smart voters, and they know that flyers aren't going to necessarily, whether pro or con. Is this over for Haley, in your opinion, if she is 15 points below, or is that encouraging for her to move forward because she's going to her home state? That's the next one. What do you think?
Well, she's not polling very well in her home state, and that's going to have an impact. I mean, if she finishes second, even between 10 to 15 points, it's a tough road to haul going into South Carolina. And right now, the numbers don't look too well for her there at her home state. And if she can't pull out her home state, I think the road is going to be very tough.
And then we have a decision that she's going to have to make. One of the things that we take a look at, and you're a professional in this world, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
Of course not.
What is, I always try to do. People gravitate towards leaders. There's so many different definitions of leaders. Let's talk about what people are worried about. What do you think is the number one issue out there?
I think one of the things I've talked to a lot of people about is immigration.
I agree with you. Immigration seems to be the top issue because the impact kind of trickles down to the rest of the issues that they have.
Yes.
Which is the second one, would you agree, the economy?
Economy, inflation, families are struggling. They're trying to make ends meet. This inflation thing doesn't seem to be out of control. Now we're still around $3 to $4, for gasoline. The way things are going, it could go up. So I think a typical family is just trying to figure out how to make it work.
I agree with you 100%. That said, there's a majority of voters out there. There's other things, those intangibles, that feel good.
Mm-hmm.
People vote for somebody that makes them feel good, somebody that makes them feel secure. So you have a former president running again,
Yep.
and then you have the incumbent. You usually say, and I'm going to be bringing the town moderator in real soon to give us some update of what's going on.
Oh, I can't wait to hear the
I'm
updated
sure
numbers.
The updated numbers. But you usually think that the incumbent is the one, and it's still true, it's coming from, how do I say, an uphill battle because he's been in there for 4 years. The same was true with Trump. People were looking for change after 4 years. Now we have people whose resume includes President of the United States. People aren't satisfied. I'm not sure why one person has the drive. I'm not one for negative campaigning. And the former president has that tendency, and that has a tendency to turn people off, so it's kind of turning voters away, but then they're taking a look at the other side. We'll have to continue this conversation, but right now I'm going to bring in our town moderator, Brian Shaughnessy, and we're going to go back to the station just for a moment. And so if you just stand by, we'll be right back. We're going to find our town moderator a seat, and we'll see you when you come back. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to 2024, the first in New Hampshire primary here in Bedford, New Hampshire, and we are now sitting with our Bedford town moderator, Brian Shaughnessy. It's been quite a day.
Yeah.
It has been quite a day. We've had a very good turnout.
Would you say, of all the primaries that you've been involved in, and you've been around a long time, that this turnout is phenomenal?
It is. It may not be a record. I'll have to check that later, primarily because the Democratic vote is somewhat low, but the undeclareds and Republican turnout has been phenomenal.
How has it been managing the traffic? Everybody was anticipating that this would really be difficult, certainly around the primary hours, 7 o'clock, noontime, and now we got a good crowd still here that's filing in.
Yeah, we met with the police department and the Department of the DPW last month, and we came up with a great traffic plan. We had more police officers out there directing the traffic in. Not advertised, but should we need it, we have the ability to escape out through Chestnut Street onto 101, but then we'd have a police officer down at 101 for people that need to take a left. Right. So when we have the general election coming up, more than likely we're going to have people exiting through there, and we'll have even more manpower down on 101. But I want to thank the police department. They did a great job in managing the traffic. I have not had the complaints that we've had in the past that had to do with people backing up onto county or whatnot. So it's gone very smoothly today.
I noticed the traffic flow was phenomenal when I came in here. where they shut off Nashua Road and you could just move right up. So I think that was a fantastic idea.
Well, the other thing that I really liked is the flow of the traffic inside here, with the flow of the people just moving through. And there's something new that has been added when people check in, which is pretty slick.
Yes, people are getting a little confused. We do not have the alphabet anymore. We have new poll pads, and the poll pads can basically take the person's license, scan the back of it, and the name will pop up. If somebody has some objection to having their license scanned, and it's not captured in any way, it's not connected to the internet, it basically pulls up what's already on the paper ballot and is public knowledge, but it's just so much faster. If you remember going into a ballot clerk and you go to your letter, they have to go flip, flip, flip. Hang on, let me get my ruler out. Let me do this.
Let me get my glasses.
So much quicker.
Yeah.
We have people stacked out there, and they come in and they see the line out here, and I say, no, it's going quickly. This is about 10 minutes. I have been able to gauge where the line is on the wall, how long it's going to take. At the worst, at 11:30, we had it all the way down the hall, all the way back up the hall again, and all the way out the door. And that was 21 minutes to get in and get a ballot.
This year, the police department, Ted, was using the CERT team to really help in traffic flow. I don't remember them being here in the past, but there seemed to be a lot of manpower out there. And the courteous can be, I'll tell you, there was nobody arguing with anybody. It was pretty nice.
That is correct. We've gotten a little bit more aggressive, and I got a little bit more aggressive for people who came in. We had a lot of press here this morning. So a lot of press showed up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and 3 times before 7 o'clock I made an announcement, and I'm never shy, and my voice is not low. I said, get your cars out of the middle of my parking lot.
Please.
The first time I might have said please. And to my workers too, I want you actually parking at the very beginning of the parking lot, because what happens is people come up to the back parking lot, they see somebody backing out of that spot, and they stop. And they stop the traffic. So we've done away with that. Those are all taken by people who are here all day, and we have CERT people being a little bit more assertive in pushing people down. So that's been the difference. We have it down now, and we're forcing people into there are plenty of spaces down the end, but people don't believe you. So now we're being a little bit more communicative.
I like that, vocal.
Yeah.
I'm not shy either, right?
Yeah.
Can you speak on the same day registration voters? How's that line been today?
It actually hasn't been bad. As of 6 o'clock, we've had 307 people register today.
Okay.
In a general election, we'll have over 900.
Okay.
And the line that we have right now, we probably have about 20 people in the line. This is the longest it's been all day, because people come in after they get out of work and they register. All the way through noontime, we didn't even have a line for registering. So 307 is really low for same-day registration.
I was just going to ask you if that was low or high.
Yeah.
So the question I have, and you're a lot smarter than I am when it comes to election procedures, but one of the things that we were talking about, Ted and I, is the uniqueness of the New Hampshire First in the Nation primary. And I tried to give an explanation of caucus versus what we have, which is a uniqueness which allows undeclared voters to decide when they walk in. Can you give a better explanation between what a caucus is versus what we have here that's very unique?
So the caucus, like most other elections in most other states, you have to be registered for a party, and you're only going to caucus in a separate place, like the Iowa caucus. They'll have a separate place for the Democrats, separate place for the Republicans. You know where to go in your precinct to caucus. And you're basically in a gym, and the Republicans are writing the names on pieces of paper. The Democrats actually, they have, okay, if you're for Biden, you're in that corner. If you're for Phillips, you're in that corner. And they have people actually standing in separate places. Now, for us in New Hampshire, we're a little bit unique, not the only state, but our undeclareds, who outnumber any Republican or Democrats. So we have probably 400 more undeclareds than we do Republicans, and then a lower amount, probably 1,000 less for registered Democrats. But they can come in, and they are undeclared as they walk through the door. When they check in, they're asked which ballot you want to take. They're able to take a Republican or a Democrat ballot. And then, as they leave, they can go back to being undeclared. Now, if you come in and you're already registered as a Democrat, you can only get a Democrat ballot today. If you're registered as a Republican, you can only get a Republican ballot today. And you cannot change your party affiliation today if you're already registered as a Democrat or Republican. Only if you're undeclared can you then change back to undeclared. Everybody else to change party affiliation has to go to the town hall starting tomorrow through June 4th. June 4th will be the cutoff for changing party affiliation because we once again in September have primaries for state elections.
Absentee ballots, higher, lower? I mean, a lot of people are participating.
It
so.
was higher than I anticipated. We had about 954 absentee ballots through the door. I think we may have had a couple more trickle in. We go back to town hall. Sally, our town clerk, will go back to town hall by 5 o'clock to see if any are in the mail, and then bring it back to the place. So we have about 954 before those tricklers come in.
So the Democrats have been pushing for a write-in campaign,
Yep.
and numbers that I had for the Democrats that have participated was 1334. I don't know if they're voting for anybody else. If you take a look at the ballots, and Ted and I will look, in case you haven't been here, there's a lot of
Sure.
names on it. You're just not voting for
Yeah.
Haley and Trump and whoever else is on
Phillips
the
and
Democrat.
Biden.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people. And Ted, what did you tell me? For anybody that, if I wanted my name on there, what would I have to do? Just go down and get the town to agree with me, or the
Not
state?
the town.
The
You-
state.
You have to go up to the Secretary of State's office. You have to have so many signatures on a ballot. You have to go through the state paperwork.
So don't ever anticipate that I'll be doing that, but just in case, if I said,
If your
why
name's
not?
Vernon, you can wear a boot on your hat and head, and you can register.
So with all this, the traffic, Brian, and all this, when do you anticipate that the final results here will be
gonna happen.
announced?
We have extra crew on because we were anticipating a lot of write-ins.
Yep.
The write-in Joe Biden's. To my ear, that has not come to fruition. And what I mean by that is when you put your ballot in the AccuVote, it goes into the main bin. But if there's a write-in, I can physically hear a noise where the ballot is removed to a different bin that we have to then look at and do a manual count. There has not been that much noise at the ballot boxes. So I don't know that there are going to be as many write-in ballots that we have to hand count at the end of the day than I anticipated this morning. And this is actually an easy election. There's only one person you can vote on for Democrat and one person to vote on for Republican. So it's not going to be that difficult. The machine is going to be doing all the tabulations for all the people who are on the ballot. It's the write-ins. I don't think many people are coming today to write in Mickey Mouse. I heard on social media that people were going to come in and just write in ceasefire or other slogans, because the Democrats really, I don't want to say their vote's meaningless, but it's not going to be counted because the Democratic National Committee will not seat any delegates for our Democratic ticket. So I'm surprised that we have that many Democratic ballots cast. But again, going back to, I don't anticipate that much of a write-in. I don't want to predict because we do still have to count everything.
Sure.
8:30 to 9 is my prediction.
I know there's a big push sometimes. People are concerned with the machines. Have you got many people who said they completed their ballot and said, I want this hand counted versus a write-in?
Not today.
Not many?
Today. When we had a change in the law several years ago.
Yep.
And we did have a big push in the 2022 midterms where people were trying to, I want my ballot hand counted because people were saying hand counting's more accurate. Spoiler alert, it's not. You don't want me, who has been here since 6 o'clock in the morning, hand counting your vote at 9 o'clock at night. You just don't want that to happen. So even if I had fresh eyes on it, we have the paper backup. But there are those people who believe a hand count is going to be more accurate, or I want to make sure the machines are not rigged, or whatever.
Sure.
And then there is the ability to put it in the side. We don't have that many, and we haven't had that many today asking for a hand count.
I'm going to ask you a question, not as the town moderator, but as Brian Shaughnessy. This is very unique with the DNC passing, and I know there was a challenge with regards to First in the Nation and that the Dems want. As a matter of fact, they're basically saying this doesn't count. And do you see this? South Carolina will be their first primary that they're going to be very active in, and the president will be on that ballot. As a New Hampshireite, it kind of like my nose is out of joint. Senator Maggie Hassan had to kind of explain that, and it was very difficult for her to have the DNC try to take the First in the Nation away. Do you see that as an ongoing thing in the future where the DNC passes on New Hampshire because, quote, the diversity isn't there? I know that's a tough question. If you can't answer it, just say no comment.
All right, talking as Brian Shaughnessy,
Yep.
who follows politics a little bit.
Yep. A little
This
bit.
is a Joe Biden has not won in New Hampshire, period. He's been here 5 times.
Yep.
He wanted to have a South Carolina be first for a reason. They're going to say diversity, but he wanted to have good numbers. I think they're missing an opportunity in New Hampshire being first in the nation because we went ahead without them. And I think they're missing an opportunity to get more publicity. I don't think that'll be repeated the next time around. And maybe they're going to be taught a lesson that, all right, that didn't really work out. New Hampshire's not going to change, so let's go back to having first in the nation. I think when we have a more competitive democratic process, the candidates will want to put pressure on them to let New Hampshire go first again.
Yeah. And I was hearing every word you said. This is interesting in terms of Barbara Shagnon. I don't know if you've seen this. She gave me these stats: voter turnout ranking, states 96 to 2010, presidential elections, et cetera, et cetera. Look at where New Hampshire has been ranked. I mean, 10th, but now it's 6th, 4th, 3rd, 3rd.
That's usually around 80% in a general election,
Yeah.
or 82. That's 87% I see. I don't even have glasses on here, but
You're pretty
yeah,
good.
yeah.
That just demonstrates we come out and vote.
Oh yeah.
Come on up, you know? I mean,
we take it seriously.
yeah, and we hope they don't pass us by in the future. But what should, and then we'll let you go because we have to bring on our next guest, should people be prepared for in the general election? We had a lot of people
Yep.
show up here. So the question is, what should they expect?
Yep.
How should they prepare? And of course, BCTV will have all this information as we get closer. And then the next question that many people ask, should we go to 2 polling locations?
I'll start with the first. This is, whether people know it or not, Bedford was the first polling place that actually started with the poll pads. Back when Laurie Reidke was the clerk and I was moderator, the state allowed us to sample the poll pads. So we were the first in the state to do it. Now we bought poll pads. We have 11 poll pads here today. We dedicated 7 to the check-in lines, several to absentees, several to the supervisors and the clerk. We are going to ask the town council to lease another 5 for the general election. So we anticipate having at least 11 check-in lines to make this line go even quicker. When we have a general election, we do a lot of push to get people to the center doors because the parking out front is more abundant than in back. So right now it's not really well advertised. People will know they can come through the front, but we will advertise that more. And we will push people to the front, push people to the back, physically, stop people and have them go in the front. So we'll have several different entrances. We may have an entrance 2 different entrances coming in to funnel into our Disneyland line here. So we will be geared up for it. We'll have more check-ins and it'll go.
And this is actually going faster than a Disney line.
Absolutely.
How many personnel are involved that are on your staff or just the town in general? 200?
No, we have about 90 people, ballot clerks. John Morrison has done a great job in coordinate that. He's got these, programs to have people, it's kind of like a Google monkey thing or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
They can sign up. He's got that down. We're so blessed in Bedford to have dedicated people who have been doing this for a while, but even the new people coming in, they're dedicated, they're talented, they're much better at the computer and the programming than I am. You have Paul Brock there is other jurisdictions in the state that is using Paul's program to
That's
actually
great. I remember when
tally
he put
at
that
the
together.
end of the, so. Then you went to, should we go to 2 polling places? My personal opinion is that I like the singular polling place for several reasons. One, the reason you see the news crews here is because we have one of the largest polling places in the country. So you have ABC News here, you have NBC News here, we have NPR here, we have BBC, we had the Australian delegation here, we had Nikki Haley come here, we had Governor Sununu come here. They come here, 1, because we're large, 2, because we are well run. If somebody wants to bring a national delegation to see how elections are run in New Hampshire, they come here. if you have 2 polling places, and just not to pick on me, but I can't be in 2 places at once. I'm probably one of the most experienced election people in the room. Bill Klein, again, one of the most experienced people you're going to find. We can't be in 2 different places. So you're going to have a little bit of a brain drain if you have 2 different places. You're going to have a little bit of coordination problems getting the results out at the end of the day. And Bedford did a great job having such a huge facility here. It's really about managing the traffic outside is what our problem, the physical traffic. And we have the police on board now with opening up Chestnut Street and having different ways to get people in and out. And I think we'll be able to manage with 1 polling place.
And I can endorse that because both Ted and I were talking about how we were able to get in there. So we're going to have to make a change here. Brian, I can't thank you enough for giving us an update and giving us your thoughts on a number of different things, political as well as personal. So Brian Shaughnessy,
Great job, Brian.
our town moderator. And stay tuned. We're going to take a break, and we're going to bring on our next guest, Rick Sawyer, our town manager. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the things that we have coming up in our own march.
Tell Rick I need more money for poll pads.
Stay tuned. Welcome back, everyone. I'm sitting here now with the Bedford Town Manager, Rick Sawyer. What a crowd.
Yeah, it's great. Good evening. Thank you to BCTV, first of all, for doing this. And before we get into your hard-hitting questions, I do want to thank all our volunteers as well. I think we had about 90 people here today working the polls, and obviously we couldn't pull off any election without them, but an election of this size, it's great to have so many volunteers. And I just throw it out there, if you are interested in volunteering, that you could always contact the town clerk's office to volunteer for future elections.
It's gone real smooth, quite frankly. I mean, the whole day.
It is great, but we couldn't do it without our volunteers.
Sure.
Traffic flow outside and traffic flow inside. And I'm going to bring up one thing that is really great to have you come down here as a volunteer or just get out and vote. I ran into more people I haven't seen in years. So I said, you either run into them at a wedding, at a funeral, or at a polling
Do you owe
place.
them money, probably?
No, I did not owe them any.
It is definitely like an old town day, old home day.
If I did, I would just not be around. But we did talk about the first in the nation. We spent a lot of time on that. We're not going to do that with you, Rick. We're actually going to talk about our own election that's coming up.
Sure.
And folks, we have a very important election coming up with a number of items that are going to be on the ballot. And Rick, we're going to start out first by talking about one very, very important one that a lot of people will have to vote on, and that is the new police and fire station substation down at on South River Road.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. This has been a project that the town council and the staff have been working on for many years, and we finally come forward with a proposal. It's a station that would be located right behind the consignment gallery on South River Road. Most people know that,
Yep.
or across the street from the broken down greenhouses. That's the other. That's the number one complaint we get in town. I wish we could get that addressed, but so that's the location. It would be a new police station. The police department would leave the current safety complex altogether, and it would be a fire substation, as you said. So the fire department would stay on Constitution Drive, and this would be a substation. And we have 3 ambulances today in the fire department. 2 ambulances would stay at the current complex. 1 ambulance would go to the new station. I think I've heard today, I've been working a table in the back of the room today, a lot of people thought the fire station was leaving Constitution as well, and that's not the case. That will still be our main station. This will be a substation for the fire department. 1 of the 3 ambulances will go there, and 1 of our fire engines will go there. But all the rest of our apparatus will stay in the current complex and continue to serve the rest of the community as it does today.
So would the police also go to this new facility
So
as well?
the police would move entirely and vacate Constitution Drive. What would stay at Constitution would be fire headquarters and obviously the majority of the firefighters serving the community. The Public Works Administration that is currently there would stay there. The building department that is there would stay there. They get a little more breathing room, as would the fire administration. And the planning department would move from the town office building over to the safety complex, so that we'd have all that permitting, all the people that do permitting together for the first time. So, you know, we wouldn't build a brand new building just to accomplish that, but it is an extra that we get out of it. And like a resident right now, if they're trying to get a shed permit, they might need to go, or they do need to go to the town office building and to the safety complex and maybe back again to get that permit. So one of the benefits of this, albeit a minor one, is that you get to do one-stop shopping on development.
And I want people at home to understand this isn't something that just happened to come up saying we need something last year. This has been studied for the last 20 and 30 years.
It is. The fire substation on South River Road is definitely in the master plans from 20 years ago. I think the police station is a little bit newer conversation, but anybody who takes a tour of that facility or watches our video on our website about that facility is really shocked at how limited the space is that the police department has.
Yeah.
And to have the modern police force that we do have and how much it's grown since they moved into the safety complex 30 years ago. I think it's hard for people to believe.
We have a slide that we're going to bring up. If you could bring that slide up, Andrew.
Glad to talk to it. I think people are truly surprised that we've been in that safety complex for 30 years, and to think about how our community has grown over those 30 years. You know, seeing that population increase from 12,500 to just about 24,000 now, or a 90% increase. The police staffing growing from 28 to 65. The calls for service, this is the crazy part. We've grown in population and we've built a lot of stuff, but our call volume increasing 400% is truly what we're responding to with the number of employees that we have. Same thing on the fire side. We've grown just about doubling the size of the fire department, 21 to 40, and their call volume increasing 200%. And that last piece with the fire department, that's one of the reasons the fire substation needs to be on South River Road, is because the 29% of their calls are just in that corridor alone.
Really?
All that high density housing that's been built down there, all the assisted living complexes in the 55 and olders generate 29% of all their calls in the community. So having a station there really truly reduces their response time and gets the ambulance, especially the ambulance, it's mostly medical calls, gets that ambulance on site to those people who need it much quicker.
The site location.
Yes.
We've been kicking this can down the road for a number of years, and when you wait, you lose prime property to some of the decisions that we're hoping to have and building somewhere else. That was no longer an option for the council. The call area, and the number of calls I should say, is pretty much what drove us down there. And about 2 years ago, you guys bought the property, and we have it sitting there. Now we want to make it
Yeah, so thankfully the
so.
voters at previous town meetings had set aside about $3.5 million for the project that gave the council the ability to buy land if it became available. The McEwen family did offer the land to us at what the council felt was a good price, and they did move on that land in 2023. It was just a year ago. Part of that decision making to build one building collectively and not just build the fire substation down there and police try and keep that on 101 is they couldn't find a site on 101 that was big enough to house the police department or that was affordable. We did a lot of concept designs on many properties along the 101 corridor. That would have been the ideal thing, is to keep the police department more central. We just couldn't find a site that would work either financially or physically to meet the needs. So it is a big parcel. It is a big building that's going to be built, but it is the building that's sized right to meet the needs of both the police department and the fire substation for the next 40 years.
What do you say to the people that are out there? They're so used to seeing the safety complex right visible, sitting right there, as small as it is, and I'm not going to say unlivable, but I've been in there, and I want to add before we sign off with you, Rick, that this information you'll be able to find. I'll direct you to that towards the end of our discussion with Rick. What do you say to folks like, well, you're going all the way down to the other end of town? You've already answered one. Most of the emergency calls are down in that area. And we are protecting property down there. You're protecting businesses down there. How would you?
I think it's twofold. On the fire side, they're still going to continue to serve the community out of the current safety complex. That's not going away. All of those firefighters will still be there and have 2 ambulances and a number of truck engines and the ladder truck responding from there at the current safety complex. On the police side, it's a little different story. Our police are forward deployed. They're in sectors around the town. We have 5 sectors, and you have a sector car. You have a police car that's patrolling that part of town. So that doesn't change by moving to headquarters. Is it a different response time from South River Road to 101? It is. The reverse is true today, though. If there is an emergency on South River Road that additional police needed to go to from headquarters, it's the reverse. So are we trading off a little bit? We are, but we still have those sector cars that are patrolling the rest of the town. So the command staff especially still feel like they can absolutely adequately serve the entire community.
So there's been a concerted effort. There's a facilities committee that was formed to provide a lot of materials, and I know a lot of people, as we get closer to our election, are finally tuning in. Although actually it surprises me how many people do know about the safety complex. There is on our website, and Andrew, if you could bring the website up. First of all, go to the main page. And Andrew, for anybody who's wondering, is back in the studio picking up all this stuff. This is the website, and I'll let you explain.
Sure. That link all the way on the bottom right-hand corner of our website was added in the last 2 months or so, and it's specifically just for this project. It has all the information about the project, frequently asked questions, which are tremendous questions and answers in there. There's 6 videos, everything from the need to touring the existing safety complex and the costs.
Excuse me, Rick,
yes.
Could you bring that up, Andrew, that one page?
It truly is a wealth of information. We just encourage people to go there. It also has the list of the upcoming informational sessions that we have.
Not that one.
Well, we can talk about this while it's up if you want. But,
You got a little ahead.
There
Actually,
we go.
I want you to stay on that
Yeah,
one.
so-
Nope, go back to the other one.
so
It's like directing traffic here.
Yeah, go back to the other one. Listen, we sometimes call this winged production. We were doing
This is
so
what
well.
live TV.
yeah, so
So
you saw it briefly there, but it
Yeah.
does list all the upcoming presentations that we're doing on it. We've done 4 presentations to the community, I believe it is. We have 5 more scheduled, with the last one being virtual. So if you
There we
truly,
go.
So that
truly
was-
can't come out, we can do a virtual one on March 4th.
So that was kind of my next question, is
Yep.
kind of where are we with this project? Like what's kind of the next steps of this?
Yeah, so the big next step is a bond request. It would be on the March ballot.
So the March ballot, okay.
Yeah, and maybe Andrew can bring that last slide back up on the cost, because that's really what we'll be asking the voters to act on in March. The project cost is a big ask of the community. So the total project is $36.5 million, and
But
that
you're really taking 3 buildings, town office, the main complex, and then the new complex.
Yeah, we didn't really explain that yet, but so $34 million is for the new complex on South River Road. $1.5 million is to renovate the existing complex once the police department moves out. And then there's $1 million for the town office building, which hasn't had any significant renovation since it was opened nearly 40 years ago. It needs a new roof, it needs new boilers. The basement offices don't have HVAC, don't have air conditioning, I'm sorry. They do have heat, they don't have air conditioning. So the total project...
Wait, you only have fans down there?
Fans if they're lucky, but basement offices, as you can imagine, don't do well, and we need to do better for our employees down there. But so in March, on March 12th, there will be a question asked on a bond. I said the total project cost is $36.5 million, but we're only asking to bond $35.5 million only, because there's $1 million that we already have from that $3.5 million that was set aside by the voters previously. Mm-hmm. We have that in a capital reserve, so we take that off the top. So we need $35.5 million. It would be a 20-year bond. The bond would be sold in the first quarter of 2025. So there's no tax impacts in 2024. In 2025, there's an interest-only payment that would need to be due, and that's 10 cents on the tax rate, or about $60 for somebody with a $600,000 home. And then the real impact is when we have to start paying back principal interest in 2026, and that is 49 cents on the tax rate, and that ends up being just under $300, $294 in 2026 for that same $600,000 home. So that's less than $1 a day. We get that that's a big request, but those are the facts, and that's really all I can do is get the facts out to everyone.
But we're actually using for this build the same model that was used for the high school in Lurzio, where we're combining. You have the police station, now a substation, so it's an economy of scales.
It is, and that was part of the council decision to build one building and not separate buildings. They felt like it was the best economical decision for the community to have it all on one site, one roof, one set of utilities, one ventilation system. Part of the proposal is to have complete solar to offset the electrical costs of the project. So I think the council has done everything they can to minimize the cost to the taxpayers.
And there's no additional build out on the current system, at the current building, I'm sorry. It's just overcrowded, no place to go.
Sure, it was that earlier chart to show how much our employees had changed. The police department's a little over 8,000 square feet right now, so going to 24,000 square feet in this new building. The total build is 44,000 between fire and the community space and the shared spaces, but it's really needed. We've tripled the size of the police employees, but we haven't tripled the size of the space they work in. So we clearly need to do better by them to let them be as successful as they can be. Yep. We ask an awful lot of all of our first responders, and it's time for the facility to be upgraded. It's been 30 years, and if you've lived in town for 30 years, it's a different community than what it was.
And folks, this is not a want, it is a need, and there are many, many different ways. I'm just going to reiterate what Rick has said. There are going to be informational sessions. You'll find that on the website. There is going to be tours of the facility. If you cannot take the tour, there's a virtual tour online. Yep. We have about a half a dozen videos that just stress why we need one now. We have risk, liability, and safety issues that are spelled out clearly. And Rick breaks out the costs. We just have a lot of videos online. Some people would like to see the videos. That pretty much answers their message. And then there's a lot of other literature online. And one of the best pieces online is the frequently asked questions. Again, just click on anything. On any one of the items in there, it's an active link, and I'm getting my 1 minute notice, and you will get all the information. And this has been revised a couple of times because of questions we picked up from people in our informational sessions. Learn more about the police and fire substation complex down on South River Road. Get involved. You're going to be voting on it, and it's never been a better time to vote for this because we're going to need it. And it will get more and more expensive if we keep pushing this off.
And that question will be on the March elections, correct?
Yeah, the March 12th ballot
Ballot.
election. Yep. So on election day, you will vote on that. The next night, we have our budgetary town meeting, Wednesday night, on the town budget. So some people do get confused on that, but this one's actually on the paper ballot that you'll be voting on. And if I can, as we close out, I want to thank Jean Walker, Assistant Town Manager, who's been the project manager for this project.
Absolutely.
She's done a fantastic job with those FAQs especially, and doing all these presentations. And our communications committee, it's a group of citizens who's volunteered to help get this word out to the community. They're going out to the Rotary meetings, the Lions clubs, and those types of groups along with Jean to get the message out. And that's the last piece. If you have a group that wants a presentation, we're glad to come see you in the next 5 weeks and talk to you about it.
Awesome.
So the information is out there. If you say when you come to vote you never heard about it, I don't know how you missed it. But Rick Sawyer, Bedford Town Manager, can't thank you enough for dropping by and
Yeah, thanks for
just
dropping
briefing
by.
us on this project that hopefully passes.
Very good. Thank you both.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
We're going to take a break right now, and we'll be right back to close out our show. We have a conservation meeting coming up at 7, and we're on that channel, and we're going to have to leave. So, great turnout. We'll be right back. And welcome back.
It's thinning out.
I know,
It's starting to thin out.
2024, first in the nation. New Hampshire primary. We've got 2 minutes to wrap out, and I have a very aggressive producer that is behind the camera that is keeping us online. Again, get your information on the South River Road Police and Fire Complex. It's out there. Go to the website. Ted, I think we covered everything, but
Almost.
I am really impressed with the turnout here in Bedford, and I hope it was the same way in other communities. I believe it was, and I think we'll hit the number 300,000 plus that the Secretary of State was projecting, and couldn't be prouder of the staff here. Fast in, fast out.
The flow has been tremendous. They did a great job in directing traffic. People were kind of in good moods and navigating through it. So I think if they keep on using this approach, I think it'll be a whole lot easier to vote.
I agree, and I think you were good enough that I might invite you back.
Oh, goodness.
Invite you back for the general election show that we might have, or maybe I'll find somebody else. No, I'm going to invite you back. I've got 1 minute, and for those that tuned in, I hope you enjoyed this. We wanted to take you inside the Bedford polls to see how many people were lined up to cast their ballot. That's what I love about this
For
country.
the first in the nation
First
primary.
in the
Say
nation. We're sorry that the president wasn't on the ballot, but that's been discussed enough, and that's their strategy. We just enjoy and remind people that people come out and vote in New Hampshire. So I'm about to sign off, and if I'm getting the cue, or should I continue to talk, Ted, and say something of interest to you, I think I've said it all.
Yeah, you've pretty much said it all. Let me just say that it's great to kind of go through this. I think people who experience just being able to meet the candidates, ask them questions, ask them right to their face. This is what this is all about. This is what makes New Hampshire such a great primary.
And I don't know whether you heard a horn going off.
I did earlier.
And you know what that is? That's a first-time voter.
Is it really?
That they were celebrating first-time voters.
Ah.
So we are about to wrap up here. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to again thank my partner here for this
Thanks for the
little
invite.
rendition that we had of primary first in the nation. Ted Gorski, Leadership Coast,
Edge.
Leadership Edge. Catch his show on BCTV. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you at the general election.